Today we're going to have a look at how you can set up an EXS24 sample instrument using multiple zones. We're also going to have a look at how groups can work, and we're going to start by creating a drum kit from some individual single hit sample sounds which we've got in the library. Hopefully you've already had a look at the MyTSF Logic Ninjas video on how to save and workflow. That's really crucial stuff in the EXS24. If you haven't done that, please do that at this point, because you need to know where the instruments and samples are going to be saved. That's important stuff. Anyway, swiftly onwards. To begin with, we need to load up in the instrument slot an instance of the EXS24 sampler. We're going to choose a stereo output. You can of course use mono stereo or the multi outputs. We are going to, in a future video, have a look at using the multi outputs, which are very cool because it gives you some extra flexibility for how you can control outputs via buses, etc. Great for drums. So to begin with, we've loaded up our instance of the EXS24. We now need to delve into the edit window here, which is going to open up this back panel. So there is one little issue. There appears to be a bit of a bug in Logic 9, which means that one of the traditional ways that you would load in your samples would be via this zone button here. It says load multiple zones. Great, we should be able to do that. Little shortcut for it. Does it work? No, it doesn't work. So please don't use this method. There is another way to do it, which through extensive research on the wonderful internet I have managed to find a kind of workaround solution, which is actually dead easy and quite nice. So what we're going to do is this. I have located some samples and I have put them in my Logic folder. Logic down here, and within the Logic folder I've got a separate folder with samples and loops in it, so keeping them all beautifully well organized. Within that I have this music radar drum samples. Now I've copied this stuff onto the network so you guys can get it too. I will put up a link on this video so that I can direct you towards that. This has got all kinds of really good quality drum samples, single hit sounds, and I believe some beats in there as well. This includes acoustic, very natural sounding drum kits, and some kind of processed electro kits, and also some more kind of hip hop influenced kits. We're going to have a look at one of those more kind of hip hop influenced drum kits today. Now this kit 11 that I've got here in this folder, we can see I've got a whole bunch of individual hit sounds. If we have a little listen through them, make that sure that's not too loud for you people. We've got a whole bunch of different hi-hats, cymbals, etc, etc, etc. Nice crunchy samples. That's exactly what I'm after for this particular track. So I've selected the samples I want, and what I'm going to do is just drag them directly onto the keyboard. So I'm pulling these down, single mouse click and drag, and I want them to start from C1. I'm going to let go there. Great, let's minimize that window. Now we've got these options here. We can auto-map them by reading the root key from audio file. No, we don't want to do that. Drums zone with range root key from audio file. Again, we don't want to do that. We don't want them to be mapped to key dropped on and read velocity from the file. Again, that will produce randomized results. What we want is contiguous zones, starting at the key the file was dropped on. So it's going to start on C1, which is where we dropped that. And what this means is the samples will play back chromatically, so using every note, starting from C1 and moving higher in pitch, moving up towards C5, C6, whatever, dependent on how many individual samples you got. And I want the zone width to be just one note, so that's going to be a semitone. So we'll have one instrument, one sample on C, one the next sample on C sharp, etc., etc. So this is what we want. Click OK, and you can see then it beautifully drops in these samples for us, and there they are playing across the keyboard. Fantastic. The next thing we need to do is to move some of these samples around so we've got them in the right place. They're in perhaps a slightly, they're in a random order at the moment, and I want to, for my purposes, to have a slightly more conventional layout. So what I've got to do is find, let's say, the kick drums, and I'm going to put them down to C1. So I'm going to click through some of these. Let's have a listen. I'm sure they're in here somewhere. Okay, we've got 2 rude kick drums there, so I'm going to just click and drag that fella over here. Then I'm going to move this cymbal out of the way. So then we've got the kick drum there. Now note, it's not playing that at the original pitch. That's not what we want. If I now highlight that particular sample, you can see that it's displaying it. It's highlighted that up in the window up here, in the zones window. If I then click on the pitch button here, we'll just play it back at the original pitch. I can then always change the pitch if I want to here via the pitch coarse or fine tuning range. So I could tune it up a bit if I wanted to, make that more extreme. Or if I want some ridiculous low foolishness in my kick drums, I can also do that, whatever I want to do. Fantastic. So we've moved that, we've got that in a more conventional place. So the next thing I want to do is to also move in my other kick drums, move my snare drums around, hi-hats, etc. So let's see what we've got here. We've got these 2 cymbals, so I'm going to drag that out the way up here. Let's create a bit of space around here. I think we had another kick drum down here somewhere. Let's see if we can find the little fellow. You know you're in there somewhere. Right. We're going to have that too. Now I'm going to drop that down to B1 because I quite like having an alternative kick drum on B1. So I've now got that kick drum there. I'm going to do the same thing with that sample. So I'm going to just make sure, because we dropped it down, so the pitch was dropped down, but I want it to play back at its original pitch. So now when I play it back, it's not quite so unusually low, but it's got a nice 808 crunchy quality to it. So it might be useful as an alternative to this kick drum. Amazing. Next thing we want to do is drag those snares down, and I believe they were around here somewhere. Let's see if we can locate them. Great. Now you notice that we have here some samples that are recorded at different velocities. It would be great to be able to use those on a single key, would it not? So I could have some ghosted snares when I'm pressing the keyboard lightly, and when I'm pressing the keyboard more firmly, then I could have a more full snare sound. So let's look at how we can set that up. So first of all, I'm going to find these snares and let's drag them over, and I'm just going to put them on D1. Right, there we've got a slightly heftier one. I'm going to put him there, and then we've got an even bolder one, and I'm going to put him there. Great.